And joining us for that conversation is Dr. Ayode Jebo. He's the head of research committee of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. Dr. Abel, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Good to have you too. So let's have, we've seen publications by the CIS on this telling us it's not a problem, it's just a postponement or a pause in the process of, the reclassification of Nigeria's market. But give us in-depth of the thoughts of what's going on and conversations that you're having at the Institute of Stockbrokers.
Okay, thank you very much. So when we saw the news, and for us as a reputable association that also supports the capital market, we had to put together a position paper to really even understand what the FTSE Russia index is looking at, and based on what they have said, what we have come to realize is that uh, their position is not does not entirely negate the positive reform being carried out by the market. If we step back and we recall, this time 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, were T+3, and investors having to wait 2-3 days, T+3, that's on the fourth day, getting the proceed of your investment or having settlement. And the NGX, the capital market, were proactive, moved from that to reducing it by a day. And this T+2, if you even, the US market was at T+2 even up to 2 years ago before they moved to the T+1, which is, the T is transaction plus 1 day. And within less than a year, the market moved to T+1, which we see that this is a positive reform. We have a lot of retail investors that they are concerned. They could not understand if they trade other instruments, why that they get value immediately. Why do they have to wait for 2 days, 3 days, which we see as a positive reform. So now the FTSE Russia index having to place to review their position because they have to because of the based on what they have said is that they have to pre-fund. But we are saying that the delivery versus payment methodology or the process has not changed. If there's a challenge around the conversion of moving FX to Nigerian, converting it to Naira, that can be a discussion. And that's like an operational challenge, but does not negate the T+1 policy or reforms that have been introduced. And it is good to also note that even our market is currently being controlled by domestic investors, about 86%. Why where there's a need to have that international alignment, to have that foreign portfolio investors, reforms is key to take care of the overall market. So we are of the position that we believe that there's engagement ongoing to see what is the major challenge, but it should not be about the T+1 reform being a setback to the market, because it's actually a positive reform, which means that as an investor, if I sell my stock today, by tomorrow I have access to my funds. It's actually, you see, having access, that is liquidity. It means our market is becoming more liquid, that you can sell your stocks and the next day you can have access to your funds.
Or do you think that perhaps the time between moving from T+2 to T+1 was too short? Perhaps that's why you think there are concerns around it?
For me, I don't think it's too short. And if we also look at, based on the paper we wrote, we look at Pakistan this year also moved to T+1 early this year. So we are not going to be the first within that will be joining the frontier index that will be moving from T+1. And that's why we're trying to emphasize that if there are other operational issues, around moving FX and all those bottlenecks working with the CBN can be discussed, but does not take away from the reforms of having a T+1 reform in the market, which we see as a very positive direction or a positive development for our market.
And now that S&P Dow Jones Indices is placing Nigeria on its watch list for possible return, I wonder how long staying on the watch list takes, but what do you see as the sentiment around that? Is that positive? Is that negative?
So I would think that, for S&P to even begin to think of adding you, it means that they must have seen some positive things. And I will see it as positive, but it's going to be medium to long term. Is that at least we're beginning to be uh, being reviewed by a lot of these institutions, because they also have most of the major investors would also consider their views, the S&P's views, and most of all these rating agencies, they would need to understand their views. So this is positive, but it's not going to be like an immediate. We shouldn't see it like an immediate impact on our market, but I think it's a positive in the right direction. Yes, the concerns are still there, right, around security, around how do we make the growth inclusive. Even the IMF, when you look at the report, how do we make this growth inclusive? But what most of them are also saying is that those painful reforms, you imagine the 2 years, we're almost going to 3 years now. There's been stability in the FX, there's been liquidity in the FX market. These are some of the things they also look at: the ability to come in, the ability to exit the market. So we think that it's positive with this announcement. It's going to be positive in the medium to long term for the country.
All right, Dr. Ayode Jiebo, thank you so much, Head of Research Committee of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. Thank you for your time on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.